What's up? It is week 14. I can't believe it is already week 14. The time has flown by. We have a great slate tonight. We also have a great guest coming on the show tonight as well. He was on last year, has not been on this year. So he's going to help us break the slate down for you. It's a week with a ton of running back value. We're going to talk about it. So hang tight.
Going for two, kickers are extra, I give them the boot. Ooh, going for two, sit back, relax while I grab me a brew. Ooh, now I'm reclining while putting my time and I'm ready to go. My spine is aligning and much my lineups, my bank account grow. I am so rich, but knowledge is all that I'm leaving it with. Ooh, listen to this, multiple options, how far can I get? Ooh, DFS Dynasty redraft tonight, I'm not finishing last. I'm finishing past any and all, I am looking to last. What else? This spot is popping and I am so locked in and only opening the door when it is opportunity knocking. And all of these spots keep on talking and talking. So what are we talking? What kind of alignment? And running it deep, even players forgotten or came from the bottom or hitting that top. And this spot is popping, yeah, this spot is popping. And woo! This is the armchair, yeah. Put up your arms, yeah. Sound the alarm, yeah.
What is going on, and welcome to episode 411 of the Armchair Fantasy Show. I am your host, of course, Geoff Lambert. Follow me on Twitter at JeoffLambert77. I'm here with my co-host, as always, Tim Strobel. What's up, man?
I'm doing good, Jeff. You said I can't believe it. It's week 14, man. Flown by.
Crazy. Also joining us, as always, we got Gerson, otherwise known as G. What's up, Gerson?
What up? I mean, yeah, it's true. I think I was in a car and I was driving. Well, I wasn't in a car. I was in a truck driving to work, and I'm like, "Holy shit, week 14 already!" Yeah. And you get those sleeper alerts where they tell you your playoff starts next week. I'm like, "Oh shit! All right, let's go."
Yep, absolutely. Also joining us tonight, special guest. He was on last year. It's our first time getting him on this year. Aaron Barnett, what's up, man?
What's up, man? Appreciate y'all having me. Been trying to get it done with the work schedule's crazy. So me and you talk every week anyways, but
yeah,
at least we got it done now.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Aaron is one of my my go-to guys. We do a lot of talking during the week in a private chat, and we talk about our cash lineups, and I can vouch for this guy. He doesn't produce content, but I can vouch for him. He knows his shit.
There you go.
Go ahead and jump right into the rewind.
The weekly rewind. Rewind.
All right, Gerson, why don't you kick us off here in the rewind? What was one good, one bad from last week?
Why do you have to go to me first?
Because I liked your one good, one bad. I wanted to start the show off with a bang.
He did.
So my one good was he was my player. He was my lock of the week, Mr. Ladd McConkey.
Yeah.
McConkey. I mean, he did awesomely. Like, even in the first half, I was like, "Oh hell yeah, this is gonna be a big game," you know.
Yep.
And the second half, I mean, he still did pretty good. I mean, overall, he was one of the highest value per dollar, you know. So I smashed on that. Then you have Justin Herbert. Like, you ever seen that meme on Superbad? Like, where he's like, "Yeah, F me, right?" Yeah. Put that in there with Justin Herbert. My one bad. I mean, that whole game was just bad. I mean, maybe I should have. Well, I did. I did play Bijan as my run back in a lot of my roster, but it didn't matter because Herbert sucks. So, I mean, if Herbert would have hit, Ladd would have hit, you know, even Will Dissly, like, he had 0 points. So, like, that whole game, like, was just bad for me. So, yeah, I'm good.
Tim, what you got for your one good, one bad?
Yeah, so I'm going to cheat a little bit because I put one good was Thanksgiving. I thought we killed the Thanksgiving coverage. Like, every pick that we were really high on and was in the final lineup.
Yep.
Like, I made some notes here that, like, we were high on Tua. He was the top quarterback, stacking the Green Bay Miami game. And I had the call of having Keenan, Allen, and DJ Moore in the same lineup, which ended up being in the final. So we killed the Thanksgiving coverage. So just, you know, props all around. My one bad, though, was Jahmyr Gibbs. That was the one thing that kept me out of that number one lineup. I had every other spot right, basically, except for Jahmyr Gibbs. So Yeah, that one hurt. So, yep, on to net. But we had a great week last week. Bucky Irving was my lock of the week. A certain other website we shall not name said to play Taysom Hill in the flex. And so I ended up easily killing all of them in my head-to-heads and in my cash games. So,
Nice.
it's a good week for me.
Awesome. Aaron.
I know I told you about it, and I told other people about it. And normally it's not something I would do off the board, but I called it last year, same game, went with Moose in the cash games. Everybody didn't think I would. I did it and finished in the top 10% of all cash games with it. I was pretty convinced he was going to do it. 10 plus targets for 3 straight games against Cincinnati. He gets loose against them.
Yeah. You said that in our chat, and I was like, I don't know if I can pull the trigger on him, but you pulled the trigger. You had the balls to do it. So
I told people for like 3 days before in a Discord, in different Discords, that I was playing him, and I helped the statistics against Cincinnati, and people they seen I took it and done it.
Yep.
One bad though was Brees. I figured he thought he was in a good spot, and he didn't live up to it. That Jets team's really, like, it's hard to kind of play him right now. You don't know what you're going to get from him.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so my one good, I called out Mark Andrews. I said he was probably the lowest I was going to go as far as tight ends at 3.9. He ended up being the second highest scoring tight end on the slate, right behind McBride. So he smashed, and I had a nice little stack with him in there. And then my one bad was Baker Mayfield. It was just a brutal game for Baker. It was a Bucky game. Bucky went loose, and Baker didn't do a whole lot. Actually, I think he got hurt, came out for a little bit, back in. So,
hey, man, prop to Baker though. Like, that guy played his part out in that game. Like, that was crazy. Like, you get hurt, you come back, and then right when he came back, he got sacked. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, Baker's a warrior.
Yep, 100%. All right, let's get to this week's slate.
Let's talk quarterbacks.
And Gerson told me he's gonna go on hiatus for the quarterbacks because he's had some rough luck with quarterbacks. So he's not gonna be part of the show until we get to the tight ends. So Tim, why don't you kick us off here with your favorite play at quarterback?
Yeah, I was kind of joking in the pre-show that I thought our guest tonight was going to be Jared because there were so many Vikings on the sheet. So I'm going to start with one. Why not? Sam Darnold, 6,100. He rates out as my number one quarterback this week. Unfortunately, he also looks like he's going to be the chalkiest quarterback, so that's a bit upsetting. But with the value that opened up today, I think you can easily get to 6,100. There's a value quarterback we're going to talk about here in a minute that seems to be very popular, and I'm very weary about playing that in cash. So I'm pretty sure Sam Darnold is going to be my cash game quarterback.
Yeah, great call. Aaron, what do you have for one of your favorite quarterbacks here?
I go with Josh Allen right now. Looks like what I have it is he's getting less than like 1% ownership right now is what I'd seen it as, and he's no weather concerns. He's got 6 rushing touchdowns. He's having a rushing touchdown every other game, and trying to battle for that MVP, leading that offense, and he might be getting 2 of his weapons back, or at least one of them. So I think Allen this could be a big game for him again.
Yeah, I like the Allen call because you're right. I think everybody's going to kind of live in that 6K range.
Yep.
Want to pay up at quarterback, and if you do
less than 1% owned is pretty.
Yeah. That's pretty.
Yeah, I honestly think that Buffalo Rams game is going to go under-owned in general.
And it's got the highest total on the slate.
Yeah, a bunch of pieces from there could go off for sure.
I'll take my guy here. I got Tua Tagovailoa versus the New York Jets at 6.3. Jets defense is pretty good, but if you look at the DVOA by position, they struggle versus the tight end and versus the running back. And we're going to talk about both those guys tonight. And I think he can get a lot of his points from checkdowns to Achane. Obviously, Jonnu Smith is going to be a popular play as well for me. So I think that's how they're going to end up beating the Jets, is not with the Tyreek Hills and the Jalen Waddles, more of Jonnu Smith and a lot of Devin Achane. So at 6.3, I don't think he's going to be high owned either, because people are going to want to click on Sammy Darnold at 6.1, just a little bit cheaper. So if you want to get a little bit different, you can go Tua here at this spot. We also had Baker Mayfield at 6.4 and Kyler at 6,000 in our quarterback. So let's move down into the value columns here. And Aaron, let me go to you because you have the guy that's going to be somewhat chalk. Talk about Will Levis at 5K.
Well, right now, off 2 different ownership sites, I've got Levis just like 3/10 less than Darnold, which was, I mean, I knew he was going to be chalky, but I thought more people would try to get the Darnold, especially for cash at least, But Levis, 4 straight, I think 16 plus, and then now he gets a nut matchup right now. I definitely, 20 is not out of the possibilities.
Yeah, I definitely see it. Like a friend of mine in one of my chats was like, Will Levis is probably my cash game quarterback this week. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
I know.
It's huge. There's a lot of talk about it. I mean, another thing, he's got 22 rush attempts in the last 4 games.
Yeah, he's been running a lot more. So yeah, it's tempting, but I don't know if I could pull that trigger or not.
So last week on this show, what did I tell you, Geoff? I said the optimizer told me to play what quarterback? Bryce Young.
Bryce
And
Young.
I said I can't spend real money on Bryce Young. And what happened? Bryce Young was that guy.
Yep.
This week, it's telling me to play Will Levis, and I'm right there with you, dude. I'm looking at that, and you can make some nice lineups with Will Levis, but it's Will Levis, man.
Yeah. I think
makes me a little uneasy.
For cash with the value you got available, there's no point in chancing the Levis. Just go to Darnold.
Agreed.
Yep.
Tim, what you got in your salary savers?
Yeah, the only other guy I'm really interested in is Kirk Cousins. He's looked kind of bad the last couple of weeks, but should be a much better game environment. We talked about against Minnesota. He gets to kind of go back home, if you will, revenge narrative, now that Gerson's not on screen. But it's really just, it's just a much better spot for him, right? Like you said, one of the best game environments on the slate, and he's 5,500. Like, I think you can get that 500 up from Levis. And I think he'll be relatively under-owned because I think a lot of people want to play Bijan.
Yeah.
So I'll have a lot of Kirko this week.
Yeah, good stuff. I only had one other guy. I had both those guys as my top 2 salary savers, but I got AOC, Aiden O'Connell, at Tampa Bay at 4.8. He's just so cheap, right? The 4.8 doesn't got to give you much. They've been a super pass-heavy team. I think they are, passing 80% of the time in the second half of games so far. And everyone likes Bowers and everyone likes Myers. Well, AOC is the one getting them the ball. So if those 2 guys are going to go off, AOC's got to have a pretty good game as well. And at 4.8, I think you can find some good lineups there with that price tag.
Yep.
All right, let's move down to the tight ends.
Did somebody say tight ends?
All right, let's see if we can get Gerson back on here in just a minute. But Tim, go ahead and kick us off here with the tight ends.
All right, I'm going to go Trey McBride. I just think he's one of my favorite plays on the slate. At 6,100, his pass volume has been insane. And we saw in this same matchup 2 weeks ago, Geoff, we talked about it last week that you just kind of slid him into your cash game lineup and he carried you to the promised land. So, Well, one thing they talked about a lot last week is that in zone coverage, he basically looks to McBride like every play. That's his first read.
Yep.
And so we know from Seattle plays a lot of zone coverage. I expect a similar game script here. So, yeah, I think the other guy you're going to talk about here in a second is a great option, but I also really, really like Trey McBride.
Yeah.
Hey, crazy about McBride, though, 12 catches, 2 in a row. He's got 1 touchdown on the year and averages almost 16 fantasy points a game.
Yeah.
Yep.
He can't score a damn touchdown. Like, what the hell?
I know he fell on one, right? Like, that's how he has to get a touchdown.
Yep, exactly.
28 fantasy points in the same matchup 2 weeks ago. So, yeah, it's
Yeah.
One other thing I always look at is red zone targets. He had 3 last week.
Yeah.
Like, basically, he's getting all of the work in the red zone.
Yep. All right. Well, you alluded to the guy that we're going to talk about next.
Lock it in.
All right. My lock of the week, Brock Bowers. He leads the league in receptions. Now, I don't mean leads the league in receptions for tight ends. I mean, he leads the league in receptions at the tight end position. He's basically a receiver playing tight end. He averages right now 17 fantasy points per game. Puka Nacua averages 17.1, and he's $1,200 more than Bowers is, and he's also the wide receiver 3 on the slate. So essentially, by putting Bowers at tight end, you're putting a wide receiver at tight end position, and I just can't pass that up. It's a good matchup versus Tampa Bay, and like I said, Puka Nacua is basically averaging the same amount of points, and he's $1,200 more than Bowers. So he is my lock of the week. He will be pretty high owned, I think, this week. He'll be the top tight ends, but I couldn't avoid talking about Brock Bowers today.
Much easier to get there, today.
Yes,
it was like on Wednesday.
Yep, agreed.
He averages 9 targets a game for all year. Like
that's insane.
Yeah, I heard somebody say that he was what we wanted Kyle Pitts to be.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's just
Wait. Kyle, I mean, I think like what Geoff knows is in Dynasty, people were saying Brock Bowers might be taking like a top 3 in Dynasty, like tight end by next year.
100%.
And
Yeah.
Kyle Pitt was supposed to be that guy.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I mean, I agree there. I mean, I'm not trying to be biased here because I'm a Raiders fan, but honestly, he's the only reason why I watched the game. Okay, maybe because I bet a lot of money on it too, but yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah. So Gerson, you missed the quarterback session, so why don't you go ahead and talk about your one of your favorite tight ends here?
I don't know what you're talking about. I was there the whole time. In spirit. Yeah, I mean, there's one tight end I saw that nobody has, so I'm going to talk about him. David Njoku. I keep saying this every week. The 2 tight ends I'm going to be targeting every week. And last week it didn't really work out for Ingram, but Njoku, man, this guy is getting targeted. 17 targets in the last game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty insane for a freaking tight end. I can't remember the last time I saw 70 target as a tight end. I mean, maybe Tony Gonzalez, maybe, I don't know, some of the greatest tight ends of all time, but 17 target. And Jameis Winston's just going to go out and clean it, and he's not going to stop. Like, he's just going to, I'll be honest, like, Jameis Winston is the greatest gift we probably gotten as a quarterback. Yeah. I mean, for entertainment value, because he's either going to throw 4 touchdowns, and he might throw 6 touchdowns, but 2 of those touchdowns might be a pick 6. But guess what? He's going to go back out there and keep cleaning it.
Yeah.
And 5,100. That's cheap. I honestly I want to say the double tight end week, but it's also very hard because there's a lot of value at running back. Yeah. But the thing is, it really depends how you feel about those value at running back. Your roster construction this week can go one way or the other way.
Yep.
It's going to be crazy, but I love Njoku at 5,100 for the targets, and yeah, it's not pretty. The last game he played, it was a snow game. Okay, so forget about it. It was against Pittsburgh. It was a snow game. If you watch that game, it was ugly, and he could have had a bigger game too because he dropped he didn't drop. He had a big drop. He was in the end zone twice for a touchdown. Yeah, he didn't get him. So he could have had a bigger game, but give me a Njoku at 5,100. It just to be contrarian from the tight end that you guys have on your list because I was like, all right, well, I'm going to Njoku because this is my guy.
Yeah, I love it.
Jameis is the most talented quarterback that you don't want to build around.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Aaron, you got one more guy in the favorites there. Talk about K-Dot in a little bit.
I mean, obviously, it looked a little different with Evans coming back, but I still think I know they're going to try to get Evans the ball still, but I think the matchup, Baker, he likes to sling it, and you never know how hurt, banged up he is. He might try a lot of them quick, easy ones at first to get in rhythm, make sure he's feeling good. But Otten, you seen what he was doing whenever Evans was out. Like Baker, he knows he can trust him. I think this is a good game for him to bounce back from. Yeah, I think him and Evans both eat.
Yep, I agree. I just had one more guy that I'll just mention, and we'll move down to the value. I had John talked about him already when I talked about Tua, that the Jets struggle a little bit against tight ends at 5.3. He's been really good over the last couple of weeks. He's been really part of that offense. So John is another guy you can look at. Let's move down into the value tier, Tim. Give me one of your value tight ends.
I don't want to skip over TJ Hawkinson because he's another one of my favorite players on the slate. But,
yep, you're right.
Hawkin Goat, dude. Get his name right.
The Hawkin Goat. That's exactly right. Yeah, I'm going to go back to Aaron's play from last week, man. I'm going to go back to that boy, the Muth of Luth. I think that he's getting consistent target volume in that offense. And one thing for me is they're actually starting to use him around the red zone. And that's really what I'm looking for a tight end, particularly at 3,800.
Yep.
Right? Are you going to get me 5 to 7 targets, and are you going to get me some action in the red zone? Right? Because if Bowers doesn't break the slate, right, which is entirely possible, then right, we're looking for somebody to get us that 15, 17 points and then hit every other spot.
Yep.
Right? And I think Muth can do that at 3,800.
Yep.
Oh yeah. He's the second best receiver on the team.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see, Aaron, why don't you go next here? Give us one of your salary savers.
I know he's going to, at first, a lot of people looking at him for cash too, but Juwan Johnson. He's getting some ownership. No Taysom. He's been involved even with Taysom, but once Taysom went out, he ended up with 7 targets last week. He ain't going to run the ball or anything, obviously, but I like Juwan, and I've told you many times I don't do the double tight end for cash. It's just I can't do it. It won't even let me.
Oh no, there's no way you ever want to do that.
It won't even let me save it. I don't think. But I think Johnson's probably going to be my tight end as of right now. I don't pay up for cash tight end.
Yep, agreed.
Keep us viable always.
Agreed.
I like this guy.
All right, a couple of guys we'll just mention. Conklin at 2.9, and we got, I don't want to mention him because I think he's a sick call, so we'll get to him a little bit later on today. Mm-hmm. All right, let's move into the running backs.
It's time for running backs. Running backs.
All right, Aaron, kick us off here. What running back you going with? What's your favorite running back this week?
It's a big toss-up between Kamara and Saquon, but that $1,000 saving, I'll go with Kamara. Seems like he's been the chalk cash running back, pay up running back for the last 3 or 4 weeks in a row. I actually faded him. Showed you a couple weeks ago. I faded him, went money, and ended up paying off pretty big when he against the Browns.
I remember that.
But yeah, I think Kamara. Now speaking of no Taysom, to vulture them touchdowns and some of them rushing attempts. Kendre Miller's going to be active, but I think he, maybe 5-6 touches or something like that. But no receivers, and against a defense that Rico Dowdle just went 24, 25 fantasy points against. Kamara, this should be the week out of the ones he's been chalky. This should be the one.
I love it. Let's see, Tim, why don't you go next?
Yeah, I'm going to go the other way, man. I love Saquon. He's probably my favorite running back play on the slate. I know that extra 1,000 is tough to pay. This is like prime CMC price kind of, but it's the Panthers, right? We've literally played running backs against them all year. And I think there's a little extra incentive here because I do think he's trying to go for the rushing record. And he knows that he needs 150 yards plus on every game. We can talk about narratives, but I think that's a real thing, right? Players chase records, they chase incentives, and we're better to make a good start against that than the Carolina Panthers. So I think it's 150 yards and a touchdown lock, and then everything above that is kind of gravy.
Yeah.
So I think you're paying up for it. I'm going to try to, particularly in tournaments. I think Kamara is going to be the cash play, and you play Saquon in
Quando. So here we go for Saquon.
For sure, brother. How about a toast to all the running backs that got on better teams this year?
Yes.
You said running backs didn't matter for years until 2024.
After the Saquon thing, I think the biggest thing of all that is Nick Sirianni. The guy is a big proponent. Like, if you saw that video about him telling, hey, your record or your career yard per game, whatever, you want to go way back in, and he's like, Saquon was unselfish. And it's good. Like, we saw it. He just did it. He broke his own record a week later, 2 weeks later. So mad prop to him. But I love the Saquon call. I was really close to making him my lock of the week, but it would have been too obvious.
Mm-hmm.
I had the same thought.
And to be honest, I also think that Saquon really, really, really wants to stick it to the Giants. And the Eagles really, really want to stick it to them too,
Yeah.
No. So Saquon and Kamara are going to be your 2 guys. But I think there's one guy I kind of think it's just a contrarian play. It's Devon A-Chain. The guy's been producing touchdowns after touchdown. It's kind of crazy because you can do it either way, through the receiving game or through the rushing game. It's not cheap. It hasn't been cheap as it's been lately. I think we've been riding this train, so some people might want to ride off. But I think it's a contrarian play against the New York Jets. The Jets defense has been pretty crappy since Salah left. And the other thing is they just lost C.J. Mosley, one of their best linebackers, probably the best linebacker on that team. So their defense just took another hit. I can see them relying on A-Chain more because of they have cornerback. What's his name?
Sauce Gardner.
Sauce Gardner probably going to guard either. He's going to be on Tyreek Hill, right?
Yeah, he's out probably.
Yeah. Oh, is he out?
Yeah, I think he's out. Doubtful.
Well, then that defense is shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So give me A-Chain as a contrarian play. Don't be overloading yourself. This is more of a GPP play. He is 8,200 more than Kamara. He's $200 more than Kamara. But if you want to be contrarian, you can go to him. But
Yeah.
it's between those three guys for me.
Yeah.
Him and Kamara got the best receiving roles for running backs right now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and the Jets, just to add on to that, the Jets are 27th DVOA versus pass catching running backs, which obviously A-Chain falls into that category. So all the reasons to play A-Chain. I'm going to go with another very contrarian play. This guy's kind of in no man's land because I think this week you're either paying all the way up or you're paying all the way down or some kind of mix in between. But Tyrone Tracy there at 5.8 is right there.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to have little to no ownership. He's going to have a great matchup. The Saints give up the 8th most points to running backs, and they're 32nd DVOA versus the run. So a great play there for somebody that's not going to be owned very much because of these high price guys, and then some of this value that we're going to get to next. Let's see if we got any more guys to talk about. Let's go back to you, Aaron. You got one more guy, Kyron Williams at 7.3. I want you to talk about him a little bit.
Yeah, I was trying to decide between Kyron and Bijan. Kind of, Bijan, his role's pretty, but Kyron, the reason why he can be a little contrarian, basically no ownership's coming in on him right now, and that game said the highest point total on the slate. I think it's almost like 50 or something, 49.5 something, and the Rams, one way to try to slow down offense is to run the ball and keep your offense on the field, and I think see Kyron, obviously, he's a little touchdown dependent somewhat, but I can see them leaning on Kyron trying to slow Josh Allen down.
Yeah, I like that call a lot. Let's see, Gerson and Tim, you both have Bucky on there. Tim, why don't you talk about Bucky a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's questionable, so obviously keep an eye on game time. But
play it.
we've just been saying play Bucky every week, right? Like he is clearly the guy. We mentioned that post-bye bump, man. The last 2 weeks, it's been the Bucky show. I mean, Rashad White's been getting a little bit, but I mean, I think at 6,600, he's a bell cow, and that's just too cheap for that price. And he gets an excellent matchup against Las Vegas, right? Like we want to play Baker, we want to play Mike Evans, but there's a real good chance this is just the Bucky show. Yeah. And at 6,600, I agree. He's in that kind of middle range. People might not be paying in, and he showed 30-point upside last week. Why not do it again?
Yeah, I like it.
Bucky's what they wanted Rashad to be.
Yep.
Agreed.
I just mentioned the last couple of guys we had on there. We've got Bijan Robinson at Minnesota, which Tim talked about a little bit earlier. Is a good play. James Cook at 7,400. And then is that everybody? Looks like. All right, let's move down into the value, which lots of value has opened up.
This is the real decision of the week, right? Yeah. Like, let's be honest. You get this right, and you're probably profitable this week. You get this wrong, and you're probably not.
Yeah, great. Aaron, I'm going to go to you first because you have a clear favorite out of the three value running backs. I want you to talk about him a little bit.
I mean, obviously, it's dependent on news. Make sure if Walker's out. But if Walker's out, I think Charb, he's the cheapest of them. And he probably got the best matchup out of all of them, too. Walker in that same matchup 2 weeks ago had, I think, 22 touches. And if he's out, Charb's probably locked for 20+ touches.
Agreed.
And we know he's talented. It ain't like, and plus that game, both teams kind of have something to play for. So a little bit more value added to me.
Yeah, I like that call. I had him on my sheet pretty early in the week before the Garendo. I knew Garendo was going to be a play, but then before the Braylon Allen news too. So I like Sharps a lot at 4.8. He's the cheapest running back I think on the slate. I think that's playable.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's my favorite too. If Walker's out.
Yep. Tim, what you got for your other salary saver here?
Yeah, for right now it's Garendo. Man, I think this is, first of all, props to DraftKings, because normally the third string running back suddenly becoming number one would be 4K. It would be the stone cold lock, and he would be 70% owned in week 14. But at 5,400 with a couple other players in that range, I think you have to make a decision. And we talked about tight ends. There are a lot of tight ends in that same range that you could argue have a similar floor and ceiling combination. So yeah, I think right now for me, it's Saquon and Garendo. Depending on what this news is on, with Kenneth Walker, I think that's really what you're deciding, right? Are you going to play two of the cheap guys and then either Kamara or Saquon, or are you going to play like, Kamara and then one of these guys and then move on, or Saquon and one of these guys and move on? So for right now, it's Saquon and Garendo.
Saquon and Garendo.
Yeah, I think the Bears are an obvious kind of run funnel. Like their pass defense is the strength of that team, right? Yeah. Team's game plan to run the ball against Chicago. Kyle Shanahan has a system, right? He sticks to it. Maybe they said maybe they'll run more wide zone because of Garendo or whatever, but they have their plan. They're going to go in and run it. And,
I've seen
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I mean, Garendo, when he's talking, he averaged almost 6 yards per carry, and he's actually been a better receiver than Mason, which I know Geoff, being a Niners fan, you can vouch for it all. But Garendo, he looked a lot more explosive.
Yeah.
Anytime he touched the ball.
Yeah, I think he had the fastest time at the combine, right, for running back.
And he's like 220, 225 pounds. Like, man, he's a big dude to be moving that fast.
Yep, agreed. Gerson, I left you the other value running back there, Braylon Allen. Talk about him a little bit.
Well, I want to talk about Garendo, but okay.
Go ahead.
I mean, just to add to Garendo, though, if we don't need to add any more, but against the Bears, they allow 2.67 yards per contact per attempt, and then allow 21 fantasy points per game to the opposing backfield. And then the other thing is, people might say, what about Patrick Taylor? I will not say that because Garendo has been more efficient, 5.9 yards per carry to 3.6, and has out-touched him by 47-8. So, yeah, don't give me that crap. Anyways, Braylon Allen. I just think it's more about the value, right? And this is where I kind of get sketchy about it, though. New York Jets haven't been good. They haven't. And they're going to go with Braylon Allen. Like, yeah, he looked good and everything. But to me, it's more about, what are you guys laughing at?
Dad, you can't see it on your phone. That's fine. Keep talking.
No, I can actually see it on my laptop, but yeah, hold on. Anyways, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, Braylon Allen to me, yeah, he's going to be Breece Hall, 3.6 yards per carry behind, and then 2.91 contact per attempt. But then we got Braylon Allen coming here. He has looked a lot better, though, than Breece Hall sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, this guy comes in and spares him, and it just looks like, oh, you it kind of sucks, but you're like, oh, yeah, that's Braylon Allen. That's not Breece Hall. But he had 7 forced missed tackles on 67 yards, 67 tackles this year, carries. But it's just, to me, it's just the value, 5,000. That's pretty cheap. But again, I almost feel like this is a trap, and I kind of regret this. Like, I might regret this. And the thing is, I think this week, like no other week, might actually matter what one roster spot you do to make a difference for your whole roster. Because you could go from 2 value running backs to Saquon having a 40-point, 35-point game, and not having him in your roster because he was 9K, and you were like, oh yeah, well, I want to get 2. You can have Bowers, go for a 30-point game like last week and miss out on that. Like it's, and then there's another wide receiver we're going to talk about later on that he is an alpha, and he's underpriced. I don't remember the last time we saw that price.
2020. We'll talk
about the thing about.
But like I said, I just think that between Garendo, Braylon Allen, and Charbonnet, if I were to rank them, it would be Garendo number 1, Charbonnet number 2, and then Braylon Allen number 3. Yeah. The biggest reason is because I don't think the Jets offense is as elite as people think.
Agreed.
The biggest thing, all 3 of these value backs, you normally look at it, who's got to worry about another back possibly eating some touches from him. Allen, I mean, he's got people worried about Isaiah Davis. Dude's had like 18, 20 snaps all year.
Yeah.
He's got some passing work, but all 3 of the value backs don't really have anyone they got to worry about taking touches from.
Yep. Agreed.
Yep.
All right, and Gerson, you can't see the private chat, I don't think, so I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna out you here. We were talking about. I said, how is it that we add a guest and we're moving faster? And Tim said, Gerson didn't talk about QB for 15 minutes. That's what we were laughing at. So we love you, G. We love you. All right, let's get to the wide receivers.
And now, wide receiver.
Let's double drop it. Come on.
You want me to double drop it? All right, let's double drop it.
Lock it in.
All right, Gerson, go ahead and talk about your lock of the week. And I think you guys.
No, I'm done. I'm not talking about this. You guys hurt my feelings. I will never participate in this show ever again after that. So my lock of the week is Gary Judy. You know, I grew some cojones. Some of you guys don't know what that means. It means balls. Unlike other people on this show that said, "Oh yeah, this was my lock of the week," and then yeah, well, I'm gonna call you guys out too, okay? All three of you guys, okay, on this show. Oh yeah, go ahead, flip me off. Oh yeah, well, guess what? I got you guys back. Their lock of the week, whether their lock. No, I'm kidding. I felt like Eminem for a second, like you know, you guys were Papa Doc. I'm Eminem. Yeah, there we go. You know, but anyways, yeah, Jerry Judy. I said it about Njoku. He got 17 targets. I don't know if there's any other wide receiver hotter on the market for fantasy or for DFS. And like, funny thing is, people haven't really been playing him for DFS. That's the ridiculous part. If you obviously you really couldn't because he was on 2 primetime games and then a real game. And well, to give you some stats, look at Jerry Judy right now. 9 receptions, 13 targets. I mean, if there was ever a show that Tim could have had a freaking show for and said, revenge narrative, with definitely Jerry Judy last week versus the Denver Broncos. I mean, like when I was watching that game and I just see him, I'm like, man, I swear I have a friend. His name was Tim, and he always said revenge narrative. And I'm like, holy crap, 235 yards, 9 receptions, a touchdown. Like this guy like took it personal. Like if you ever seen him take it personal, but versus the Steelers 2 weeks ago in the snow game, dude, 6 for 6, 85 yards. I mean, that's pretty good in a snow game like that. And it was pretty bad weather. And Winston is Winston. He's gonna sling it. I mean, he has 11, that's 22 plus 6, 28. All right, plus 13. That's almost 40 targets in 4 weeks. You know.
Yeah.
So Winston's just gonna keep peppering him. 5,700 is the reason why I want to lock him in. Yeah. Because if you really do 5,700, I don't know if I feel more confident in playing Jerry Judy or Braylon Allen at 5,000. You know.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that's another way you can save. And honestly, this week you want to save to pay up for the big dog Kamara and Barkley.
Yep.
Yeah. Nothing about Judy. I think the last 5 games, he's almost got a 25% target share, and said Jameis slings it. And Judy's five straight games with 5 catches, 73 yards. That's 12.3 fantasy points. That's 5.7 that just without anything extra.
Yep, that's right. All right, we got a second lock.
Lock it in.
And I kind of alluded to it earlier, but this guy's price hasn't been this low since 2021. Aaron, take it away.
Yeah, like Gerson, he wasn't lying about saying we wasn't sure about our locks and which one. I was trying to debate between it, but that's the main reason why. Justin Jefferson, J Jettas, man, to see him when I seen the price that low, it's crazy, but it feels like this is the spot. Like he's going to do it. Like, I mean, the game. I've liked the whole game environment. Like the multiple different stacks in that game, but I feel like Kirk might. Everybody's pushing that revenge narrative with Kirk. So
here we go. You bring that word into the show again.
Everybody's pushing that. So I think that add a little bit more fuel to the fire. I mean, he ain't been doing great. He's still getting targeted, but I think it's coming. I can see it. I can see this being the game. Everybody looking back like, why didn't we play Jefferson at less than 8K?
Yep. Because after this week, he probably won't be that price again. So yeah,
no. I do think this game is gonna get more heavily owned throughout the week. When it comes to Sunday, when all the people like us and other people on other shows and everything, and then next thing you know, the ownership is gonna get higher and higher because you can fit in a lot of those players on this game. Yep. So it's gonna be fun. But I don't know. I mean, Kirk Cousins has looked like shit.
He has.
I don't know how much ownership you're gonna get on that side, but I do agree. I mean, with Aaron, I mean, like that's the way you want to go. Like I do love the Jefferson call, but man, like honestly, if Jefferson doesn't hit this spot, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna blame it on Darnold?
Would you have ever guessed that?
No, fuck that shit. We're gonna blame it on Jared because fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Would you ever guess that if you seen Justin Jefferson 7.8 that he was only around 10% ownership?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Coming into the season, no, I would have never guessed it.
Yep. All right, Tim, what you got for one of your favorite plays?
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that Kirk Cousins can at least get it to Drake London. This looks like a great spot for him at 6,400. I mean, we were paying $7K for this guy in a similar spot earlier in the season. And there is no better matchup, right? The Vikings, I think, 32nd against wide receivers. So we always talk about volume, right? That's what we're looking for. And he's really the only person in this offense that gets consistent volume. We're going to talk about another guy here in a minute, but like at least this guy, you're consistently getting, like a floor is like 12 points, right? Whereas you're not going to have to worry about getting an 8 or something like that. So, of course, he's probably going to put up an 8 this week, but I just think it's such a good spot for Drake London, and he's in that range that I want to pay for. Most of the wide receivers, other than Justin Jefferson, I want to pay for are between 68 and 5,500.
Yeah, I was looking at DVOA. So they're actually third best DVOA versus the wide receiver 2, and they are fourth best versus wide receiver 3. They are 22nd best against the number 1 wide receiver, and he actually has the 4th best matchup rating on FTN. So
nice.
I think he's gonna eat this week for sure. I definitely had him on my list as well. I'm gonna go with the guy that was almost Aaron's lock of the week. He was almost my lock of the week. I actually had him written on there for a little bit, and I ended up changing him. But George Pickens at 6.8 versus Cleveland. The Browns are ranked 30th DVOA versus the team's number 1 receiver, which of course Pickens is. And they give up the 8th most points to running backs. We've already talked about Jameis likes to sling it, so he's going to put some points on the board, forcing the Steelers to pass it a little bit to keep pace with the scoring. At 6.8, I think Pickens is still underpriced. I don't know if you got anything you wanted to add to that, Aaron. I know you were a Steelers fan, so talk about Pickens a little bit.
Oh, he's a Steelers fan?
I'm hoping, since I'm at the game Sunday, my daughter went ahead and gave me a Pickens jersey early for Christmas gift for it, and hoping brings through it. But I know me and you talked about it, Geoff, about week 6 or 7. Pickens has really been one of the most unlucky receivers. It was like week 5, he had almost 300 yards and like 3 touchdowns called back from penalties on basically on Broderick Jones on all of them. So you add all that, I mean, his stats look a lot different too. But with Russ, I think he's been over 16 to 20 fantasy points on 4 out of like 6 games, something like that.
Yeah.
And Russ is definitely throwing tries multiple deep balls to him, just let him try to jump up and get it every game.
Yeah.
And after the fight last time and all the talking in the media back and forth this week, I can see him coming trying to prove something.
I agree. He doesn't have to worry about playing in the snow this time, or probably not as bad anyway.
Yeah.
He said Cleveland was a bad team, that the weather saved them. So that's a lot of bulletin board material plus the other stuff.
I like it. Because Gerson didn't waste 15 minutes on quarterbacks, we got time to go back through receivers one more time. So, give us another one of your favorite receivers here.
All right. Well, I took a little break. So, what receiver did you guys cover?
About Drake London. We talked about George Pickens.
All right. Yeah. Oh, dude. By the way, you and Ryan Safaff would be best friends. You guys should go to a game together.
Yeah, Ryan's in Pittsburgh as well, but he's a Ravens fan though.
Oh, yeah.
Awkward. Yeah. I mean, I think we have to talk about Mike Evans, right? Mike Evans. He scored over 23 DraftKings points in his last 3 of his full healthy games, I guess you can say. But we already know what he wants. We know he wants the yard, but last week was not the best way to start, right? Obviously, he's still getting peppered with target. Baker, I love Baker. I don't know how to say this, but Baker's probably besides Jameis Winston, he's pretty entertaining. Right. But Baker, the guy, he's a warrior. Right now, I just say in this situation versus the Raiders, I think a lot of people think the Raiders defense sucks, which they might. But it's not as awful as people think. Nate Hobb, he's a pretty good defensive back, but I think Mike Evans can overcome that. 7,200. It's not that expensive for what he could come out with in that game. I mean, this is probably the biggest in-fight total, I believe, for this week, right? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they have the second or the first, right? One of the two.
Looking at it now. Let's see. Where's Tampa Bay?
I might be wrong, but he needs basically 96 yards through the final 5 games to reach 1,000 yards, and that's what they're trying to get. 96 yards through the last 5 games for him to get 1,000 yards. And I don't think Baker is going to be unselfish, but still, let's say he gets 96 yards and a touchdown, he'll hit that value at 7,200. I honestly think he can get more though in this game for sure against the Raiders. And I honestly think, like, I know I was on the quarterback segment. Sorry, guys. I took a break. But I do think Aiden O'Connell can keep up with this Tampa Bay secondary. And it'll just go back and forth. We saw it last week. And that's against a great Kansas City defense, you know. If he can do it against them, he can definitely do it against Tampa Bay. And honestly, I hate Aiden O'Connell because I just think he looks like the guy from Reno 911, Favre, for whatever his name is. But Barva, yeah. I don't watch Reno 911. I'm
Super Troopers.
Yeah, right. But you give me Mike, Evan.
We got some value to talk about too, but I'm gonna go ahead and mention the other guys that we didn't get to in the top part here. We got JSN versus Arizona. I think he's in a good spot. AJ Brown at 8.1 versus Carolina. We got Puka Nacua at 7.7. Got Calvin Ridley at 5.7. I think he's still underpriced. The guy you have there, Tim, as one of your favorite plays. If you can talk about him as one of the values, he's gonna be one of the popular plays there. It's Myers.
Yeah, Jacoby Myers, right? Yeah, that's what we were just talking about. AOC, he's gonna sling it. Like this is the perfect game script for him. Like Gerson kind of just hit it, right? You're coming off a game against Kansas City. They actually have a pass rush. Tampa Bay has no pass rush, right? Like it's a much better. It's like a much better offensive spot. Yes, he is on the road, but like I agree. Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers, that is the offense, right?
Can I interrupt you for 1 second, Tim? Yeah. I apologize for this too, but we have been touting Jacoby Myers for like
every
6 weeks. And he has been hitting and hitting and hitting and hitting.
And they won't raise his price.
No, they won't raise his price. So shout out to us. Give us a pat on the back.
He's been the chalk cash game receiver for weeks.
Yep.
And he should be, yeah.
And like 4 out of the last 5, he's been 15 to 25 fantasy points, man. 11 targets. Like it's
incredible.
He should be easily $1,000 more than he is.
Easily.
Agreed.
So I'm not concerned. I don't know if it's they just don't like the Raiders or what it is, but
that's fucked up, Tim. Everybody got to love Green Bay Packers.
Man, blame DraftKings, man. I don't know. Thank you, but who's ever doing the pricing?
All right, Aaron, give me one of your salary savers down here at the bottom here.
Originally, before the running back value opened up, real quick before I do it, we was talking about Evans. I didn't realize it, but Evans is on my stuff is the second best value receiver, and 35% target share last week. Evans is definitely he's one that I was trying to get to for cash. But Jennings was one that before the running back value opened up, it seemed like early in the week, a lot of people were leaning his way for cash. Just he's took over as the reliable guy for Purdy. When in big situations like big downs or anything like that, like it seems like that's who he's looking for. Yep. Debo's kind of been phased out, which was surprising a little bit. But now that Debo might get some more runs and stuff now with CMC gone, seemed like that's when it happens for him. But I think Jennings at 5.2, he's got a pretty decent floor for targets, and they're pretty high percentage too. So I think he'd be good value.
Yeah. And the thing about Jennings too that I've noticed a lot this year is when they go to one receiver sets, when they're going in their heavy package, he's the one receiver that's on the field, not Debo. So if they're play out of that set, it's Jennings on the field. He's gonna be the one they're looking for. So like when they get down close into the red zone, the play action fake with the heavy set, it's Jennings just gonna be out there. He's the better blocker typically, so they put him out there. So yeah, that's a really good call. I like.
I'm guessing it ain't been updated fully yet, but as of earlier, Jennings was actually projected the highest owned receiver that I had on mine.
Wow. Good stuff. Let's see. Gerson. Well, actually, we've already talked about all your guys. You don't have anybody left. So, Tim, you got one more guy. I'm not even sure who that is at 4,700 there. And
Yeah, it was a mistake. It's supposed to be Nick Westbrook Akine.
I had to do it, dude. I had to do it.
I appreciate it. Yeah, man. You can say it's a fluke, but how many times is it a fluke before it's no longer a fluke, right? Like I said it earlier to somebody. I called him dollar store Rashid Shaheed, but like it's the same thing where like he's 4,700 now. Like it changed today, right? Because the running back value I think changed where you don't need to probably play Westbrook Akina like you on Wednesday, like you were considering, right? Like I agree. I think it was Jawan Jennings, and if you needed to go below that, it was probably him. I don't think I would probably play him outside of maybe a Levis stack or something if I was going crazy.
Dude.
But he just keeps doing it, and I think on a crazy slate like this, he could just as easily do it again. And the thing is he's not getting 2 targets, 3 targets. Like he's gotten like 6 targets multiple weeks in a row. So it's not a bit play anymore. And the other thing I was going to say is the Jaguars give up the most plays of 40 yards or more. That's his whole gig, right? So like
where
it's one of those things where the round peg fits in the round hole, and you can say it's a gimmick, but like he could give you a 4, right? But he could give you a 20 again at 4,700. Sorry, Gerson, go ahead.
What's incredible is that he has 20 reception and 8 touchdowns. So you're telling me his 12 receptions that he hasn't caught weren't touchdowns? That's crazy. Because like touchdowns on DraftKings are pretty freaking valuable. But the thing is, like, especially for the price he always is every week, that's what makes him so much more valuable.
Yep.
Yeah. And last week he had 8 targets. Calvin Ridley had 7.
Wasn't this guy? Hold on, remind me. I might be wrong, but wasn't this like the guy that took Jeff virginity for a sick call of the week this year?
He did.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you know?
You know, you was talking about not having to pay down for receiver, but on the if you want some leverage and to be really different this week, if you can find a way to pay some expensive running backs and then get some value receivers that could go off, if it works out, you definitely will be different.
Yeah,
I agree with
the
that.
range of outcomes where the Garendo, Braylon Allen, and Sharps all bust.
It's gonna be a crazy week. I'm telling you, it's gonna be a crazy week.
Oh, one of those 3 is busting.
Yeah,
for sure.
At least one. And like I said, if all 3 of them do, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yep.
Oh,
I was gonna say I did make a few. I did make a few Saquon Kamara lineups, and the only way those look even decent is if you plug in like a Nick Westbrook Akina.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
NWA for life.
Right.
All right, let me just mention the last few receivers that we have. I got Addison for Minnesota if you want some cheap exposure to that game. Parker Washington at 4,400. Let's see. We got Darnell Mooney at 55. Again, some cheap value there that you can get in that game. And it looks like everybody. Let's go ahead and move to the defenses.
Defense.
I'm just going to double drop it.
Lock it in.
So Gerson said your lock of the week should be your favorite play on the slate. And my favorite play on the slate is the Saints defense. Like I feel like this is once again one of those things where DraftKings is just like, here, we're going to give you the obvious answer to what to play at defense, right? And I feel like that was this week. They get Drew Lock and Malik Neighbors may not play. I don't know the last update, if it's updated in the last hour or so, but it's looking like he may not play. If he doesn't, I think it's a stone cold lock, like run it in 150 lineups and not care. But to me, it's too cheap.
Wait, when Malik Neighbors not play?
No, I think he's injured. I think he could play, but he might not play.
Yeah, he's got a hip issue.
So yeah, we saw them on Thanksgiving. Like I do think the Cowboys defense is probably a little better than the Saints at this point, but Drew Lock is not that guy. And at 2,900, there's just too much upside. So
yeah, if I had more time, I could have created a new drop and call it the Drew Lock of the week.
Yes, it's exactly right. I know how crazy it is. We used to target Will Levis and now he's a really good play. But Drew Lock is on the slate, so we're going to target that guy instead.
Yep.
The only thing that been better for the Saints, I told Geoff about it whenever DeVito started before he got hurt. DeVito takes sacks at a ridiculous rate. That'd been the only thing better for the Saints defense this week.
Yeah.
Correct.
Let's see, Gerson, what you got for one of your defenses?
Yeah, I mean, well, I love the Saints defense, that's for sure. But I hate defense. You guys know that. I'm not great at it, like Tim is. But the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, Jameis Winston, like I've said earlier on, what do you call him? Famous Jameis? Is that what you call him?
Yes,
Famous Jameis. He can throw 2 picks in one game, and this it has to be the only quarterback that scored 20 or 30 points on you and still give you a positive 10 points on your defense. You know,
Correct.
it's incredible. Well,
the optimal lineup
Pittsburgh
had Jameis at quarterback, I think, or sorry, Judy, and then Jameis, and then the Broncos D.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically what I've been counting, right, guys? I'm just trying. It might be my stack of the week. You never know.
The year
But no,
that Jameis threw
trust me,
30
it's not gonna be my stack of the week. Sorry, guys.
but
No,
that
I
year-
mean, yeah, the Pittsburgh Steelers defense at 3.5K. I mean, this defense is mean, and then you get after Jameis. I know the snow game wasn't all that impressive, but still, normal game they can still get after him. And I mean, mad props to Jameis, but sometimes the fairy tale story had to end.
Yeah. Aaron, what were you going to say?
The year that Jameis did his 30 for 30, everybody was starting Jameis and the opposing defense. Like it was, I mean, most weeks it was happening.
The way to go. Yeah.
Absolutely. What do you got for your defense here, Aaron?
I'll mention the expensive one real quick. I think if I won't do it, but if you want it to be different, the Eagles since the bye week, the Eagles defense have been lights out.
They've been nasty.
They've changed it around, and they've not gave up more than 20 points since the bye week. So week 5 was the bye, and
I agree with that.
So against that, that's the worry about Saquon and AJB and them is how much can Carolina push them. But the thing is, for the blowout to happen, those guys likely had to smash pretty early to get there. So it's kind of one of them. But talking about cheap defenses, I hate doing it. But the Browns was at the beginning was probably my lock before this, really got under the Saints. The Browns, I like 2.4, and I know them division games how ugly and slow they can get, and the Browns will get pressure on our O-line. Our O-line's not great. So I think the Browns for 2.4 is pretty solid.
Yeah, speaking of 2.4, I have a defense at 2.4 as well, and it's the Bears going to 49ers at 2.4. And a couple narratives here. Obviously, the injuries with the 49ers, no Trent Williams. There's going to be no Nick Bosa on the defensive side of things. There's obviously no Christian McCaffrey. There's no Jordan Mason. It's a mess right now, and Purdy's not looked very good. Not to mention the Bears just fired their head coach, and how often do we see it when the team fires their head coach the next game they play inspired football?
True.
And I think that's what's going to happen in this game. So I do like the Bears at 2.4 against my 49ers this week.
Just mention the Tennessee Titans, please.
Yeah, I was going to say, with a couple more plays we got here, Tennessee Titans, you want to talk about them, Gerson, a little bit?
Yeah, I like the Tennessee Titans against Mac Jones. I don't think Mac Jones is a good quarterback. I think he's a piece of crap. Honestly, never been a big fan of him. He can't scramble. The pressure is going to get after him. Tennessee Titans have actually been kind of like, either you suck or great upside defense, I mean, it's kind of crazy how inconsistent they are. But against Mac Jones, I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't run against the Titans.
Right. Yep.
The middle of that D line's pretty nasty.
Pretty good.
Yep.
I think we mentioned everybody except Tim did have the Cardinals at 3,000, and the Jags are also there.
The Jags are getting a lot of ownership, surprisingly.
Yeah, I think it was price point maybe, and the fact that they're playing people are still on the Will Levis. They don't realize that Will Levis has been better lately, so they're still playing the Will Levis thing. All right, let's move to our stacks.
GoingFor2.com's weekly stack report.
All right, Gerson, you alluded to it earlier, so I'm going to go ahead and let you start off here.
Dude, why do you have to go to me first? Like seriously.
Because you literally
Okay, look, guys. My stack of the week doesn't involve a quarterback. It actually involves a running back and a defense. It'd be a little different. And it is the Saints defense and Kamara. I think obviously this game environment is going to be going in favor to the Saints, and I'm going to 8,000 for Kamara. You're gonna have to pay up, but I think you can run it back with the Saints defense. And the Saints defense is not like expensive. It's 2.9K, so like
Right.
it's pretty cheap. So like that's the best value you're gonna get between two positions. So you're paying $10,000. I mean $9,900. You know, for two positions. So that's pretty cheap. Again, this slate is going to be very, very, very crazy because one position value can make a difference in your lineup.
Yep.
Correct.
All right, Aaron, we'll go to you next.
As you see, I put two. I couldn't decide between it's the same game. The one's Darnold, JJ, Mooney, and Addison, and the other's Darnold, Bijan, London, and Addison. I think like I said, that game environment, and another one that I've looked more into since is we talked about earlier, the Buffalo and Rams game. I think there's some decent stacks you can get out of that. But
yeah,
that Darnold, JJ, Mooney, and Addison, I built some lineups with it just messing around, and I like some of them builds that you can get from it. I think that's a good game to attack.
Good stuff. Tim, what you got for you?
Yeah, I more or less had the same stack as Aaron, so I changed it. I would add that I do like Hawkinson a lot this week, so I throw him in there. But the other stack I really like, and we were all over this stack 2 weeks ago, and then ended up being a rain game. There's no rain in Cardinals this week. It's Kyler, Trey McBride, and bringing it back with JSN. He seems to be the guy, and I think this game will go a lot overlooked this week. And it's got that kind of late slate hammer that we always like, so I will be running some Kyler stacks as well.
Yeah, I like that. I actually had that as my stack when I first went through. I changed it up because I wanted to do this stack for the content.
Yes.
AOC, Bowers, and Mike Evans. We talked about Bowers and Evans, extensively. And AOC at 4.8 allows you to get in, a lot of different pieces that you can fit in with that 4.8 price tag. So I think that's just a fun stack. I don't know if I'm going to build too many lamps with AOC, but it's a fun stack that you can do a lot of things with. So that's one that I'll be playing at least in one tournament lineup for sure.
Dude, my gut says like AOC or Will Levis will be in the Millie Maker, and that just kills me.
On your stack, Tim, you looked into adding Charbs in there with it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think if it's Charbonnet, that's exactly what the stack will be.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I like it.
Good stuff. All right, let's get to our sick calls.
And now, the sick call of the week.
All right, I went 10 weeks without hitting a sick call, and now I've hit 2 in the last 3 weeks. Michael Wilson actually would have hit if he could have just gotten 4 more yards and got a touchdown. He got so close to scoring that touchdown, but I
got to give props to you on that one last week, because for half that game, he looked like the only Atlanta receiver that knew what he was doing.
Yeah, exactly. He also almost had a long touchdown play as well that would have really bumped his score up. Let's go to you first. Aaron, because last time you were on the show, I think you called out a tight end and ended up having like 2 touchdowns or something. So
I think the first time I was on the show a couple years ago, Brevin Jordan. And then I called him again, and he fell a little short of it. He didn't for a sick call, but I almost hit it both times. But this one's trying not to be a homer, but I think Calvin Austin. Everybody liked the love for Pickens, and Austin. He was one of my favorite receivers coming out of the draft just because of the amount of money he made me on college DFS. But he's fast. I mean, he ain't big, obviously, but he's fast, and he's getting a little connection with Russ, and they're looking for him downfield. He's had, I think, 10+ fantasy points two games in a row, or 2 out of the last 3. I think Calvin Austin finds the end zone.
Good stuff. I like it. And that price tag is nice. 3.3 is pretty cheap. Gerson, what you got for your sick call?
Yeah, I got a Sid Conqueror. I mean, the guy, he's cheap. He's 3.K. I just think, like, facing Jacksonville Jaguars, it can be a back and forth pace between 2 terrible defenses.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna lie. Like, I think we talked about it the whole show. Like Will Levis. Like,
yeah,
Mail Boy. Like, but the cheapest target he had is Chig, and
Sure.
he done it before. He had a 14-point game 2 weeks ago. So I'm gonna ride that. I mean, 3-point K.
Yeah, so
But I think it's a sick call. Don't be like,
don't play too much of them.
don't be playing them too much.
Yeah. So like I know a lot of times when I play these receivers that are really cheap, I always say, I want a guy that can hit his value
Get there in one play.
Yeah, and I think Chig is that one tight end that can probably do that. I mean, he has that one
Yeah.
catch, yards in a touchdown that he did a couple weeks ago, and he can do that again. So yeah, I like that.
I got the Jeff tout. Oh yeah.
All right, Tim. This is a 2-time, right? You've had him on the.
I have. I've been on a little bit of a cold streak, missed the last 3 weeks in a row, so I went back to the well a little bit. Friend of the show, Darius Slatron. We mentioned that I expect Malik Neighbors to be a little hobbled in this game. New Orleans pass defense has not been as good since Marshawn Lattimore was traded. So, and most of all, they get beat deep, right? I think Malik Neighbors has kind of become the underneath target monster, like CeeDee Lamb-ish role, right? And then they're using Slatron down the field. So again, talk about a guy that'll get there in one play. I think that could very easily happen, whether or not Malik Neighbors plays.
Yeah.
Can I have a question? Can I have a question in this?
Go ahead.
So let's say Malik Neighbors out in a situation like this, like we'd never cared about sick calls.
Yeah.
If Malik Neighbors out, like, is he gonna become a value Slatron?
Yeah, for sure. And actually, it's funny you mentioned that because last week I had David Moore, who was not popular when we did the show on Wednesday. And by Sunday, he was chalk.
Yep.
And so I actually pivoted to Tommy Trimble just to get off David Moore. But yeah, I think it's very possible that if Malik Neighbors is out, that he's going to be the stone chalk.
Yeah.
Wide receiver.
Shit.
That's why I'm kind of hoping Malik Neighbors plays, because then I think nobody's really going to be on him.
Yeah.
Just so everybody knows, David Moore did not hit value last week. Don't worry about it.
Real quick, there's another one I think is Sterling Shepard. For some reason, I've seen him come up.
Yes,
I've seen him coming up a little bit. I think he could be all right.
Yeah, good call.
I agree with that.
So my sick call this week, and I'm going to be a homer here a little bit, just like Aaron, and I'm going Ricky Pearsall versus Chicago.
Oh my goodness, a bunch of homers.
So obviously I mentioned all the injuries that we have. We're a little short on some playmakers. Pearsall can be that playmaker. I think Debo is going to be lapping in the backfield a lot more this game, which means Pearsall is going to be on the field at 4.5. A couple games ago, he actually looked really good. Hasn't done much since. Last week was a shit show in that snow, so he didn't really do anything in that game at all. But at 4.5, he has almost no ownership. I think he's less than 1% owned. So Pearsall is sort of my shot in the dark this week, my sick call. All right, fellas, that wraps the podcast up. I want to go around the room. I know, Aaron, you don't do content anymore, but is there anything you wanted to plug? You can do that. But you can talk about the DFS group as well. We'll go to you first.
Oh, no, I mean, like I said, I don't get to do content no more. Wish I was able to, but being on call every day, I don't know where I'm coming or going half the time. But,
yeah.
I mean, I definitely enjoy being able to come on or any information whenever I can. So anyone ever got any questions, you can send me a message. I'll talk whenever I'm got time. But yeah, I appreciate y'all having me back on the show.
Absolutely. Yes, Gerson.
Yeah, you can find me at Fantasy GDFS. Also on the Facebook group, DFS Roundtable. I mean, and here every week, obviously. But dude, like 14 weeks. That's crazy. Like
crazy. It flies
and
by.
we're still gonna go on for another couple of weeks, basically.
Yep.
Well, no, yeah. Thanks to everybody for tuning in and enjoying this stuff.
Absolutely, Tim.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Keto DFS and the DFS Roundtable group on Facebook, and on DraftKings, I'm Keto DFS.
Good stuff. As always, guys, you can follow me on Twitter at Jeff Lambert 77. You can find the Discord link in the YouTube description there. You click on that. It's free to join. We do DFS. We do season-long fantasy. A lot of good stuff going on in there. And, of course, DraftKings Facebook group is sort of my baby as well. Join that. Got some great guys in there. I want to thank everybody that joined us in the chat. thank Aaron for coming on, man. I know you weren't even sure up to about an hour ago if you were even going to be able to make on the show, but
Yeah.
glad to get you on the show tonight, man. I know we've been trying to get you on all season, so it was good to have you on, man. Really appreciate it. For Tim, for Gerson, for Aaron, I'm Geoff. Good luck this week, and we will see y'all next week.
Fuck the Lions.